family along, learn some Taekwondo. You may be able to defend yourself with these skills in the right situation, but largely there to teach life skills and teamwork and partnership work and be good exercise. Then you've got self-defense arts. These arts are someone comes up behind you with a bottle and you can only react.
Yeah.
There's no stepping back, getting your guard up. There's no technique that you can think about. All you can do is react in a split second.
Yeah.
And then you've got combative arts, which is your professional fighters and Muay Thai fighters and boxers who are professional at combating, or military people who train techniques to use in everyday situations that they may come across in conflict. Whereas Tai Chi tends to be more based on that self-defense. How do you teach yourself to react? Like if I was to give you a big fright right now, you'd probably, hands would come up to your face and you'd...
Wet yourself.
Yeah, and you'd wet yourself. And
yeah.
If that is the time you needed to defend yourself, you've reacted incorrectly. So a lot of the Tai Chi stuff, slow form and meditative aspects and training, is actually to teach you to react forward and attack the attack, like an animal would. Like when you see two dogs and they've got their noses together and they're back up, they're growling. They don't. As soon as they go, it's just all in.
Yeah.
There's no, I need to do this technique or I need to do that technique. And
create distance and
exactly. So whilst you probably learn that in Tai Chi, a lot of the initial learning is actually to teach people how to react correctly. So you can put any other martial art over the top you like. A lot of those skills I would love to teach other martial artists, because to teach someone to get their hands up and into someone's eyes when they get the fright as opposed to covering themselves up can be the difference sometimes.
So what sorry, so I'm just trying to work out because I don't really know. I've never heard of.
Usually I manage to dance around and explain physically as I do it. So being
can you?
No, because
can you do it now though? I mean it. Could you show
first.
us like a?
But let me explain first,
Okay.
because I saw a bit of your footage on your Instagram page, and like I can see that you're doing kind of Tai Chi movements, but then you're making these noises.
Bah.
So. Yeah. So what? So is that the meditation side, or is that the combat side, or is that like what is it?
Or is it the kia?
The kia. Yeah. Tai Chi uses just short sound. So whereas a lot of karate and that's kia, Tai Chi bah, because you want that
you're making like snap kind of sounds. Oh, is that were you saying those? Was that coming out of your mouth?
I don't know.
Or is it like
Sometimes
like a snap.
Yeah,
sometimes
like
my hand will snap when I.
Oh, is that
lightly.
what it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's that? Is that the combat mode, or is that just intimidation? Like, I don't know.
Still like Batman set to intimidation. No. Okay, so whether I'm going slow or whether I'm going fast, I'm still kind of really doing the same thing, but maybe slightly different emphasis on what I'm learning.
Yeah.
On what I'm trying to achieve. So the martial part of Tai Chi, which gets quite a bit of press sometimes, is called Fa Jing. Fa Jing means explosive energy.
Yeah.
So there's kind of two ways to punch or deliver force. A lot of the punching we normally do in external style, which is just our arm, is a push, a really fast push. So if you go to like punch a wall, you're trying to push through it.
Yeah.
Now remember when your brother used to roll up the tea towel and flick you?
Yeah.
That's like Fa Jing. Okay, so instead of pushing through something, you apply force and then pull back.
So
and it's caused by that, what we were talking about before with the Latinos, with that whipping of the waist.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of energy, mystical stuff tied to it, this concept of Fa Jing, but it's simply a different way to use your body to supply force.
Yeah.
Okay.
And is that like the same? Because at the same time wasn't there? We watched was it you? Maybe it was my son. I was watching a YouTube video.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if this is the same thing that you do, but there was this guy who had convinced himself that,
mystical throwing.
Oh, I don't know, but then and then he was actually in a ring with was it a boxer? Oh, you weren't there.
Oh, UFC
fighter, and like they had to stop the match before this dude got killed.
Yeah,
yeah. There's a lot of that on
definitely.
YouTube now. Yeah.
Is that what?
Okay.
It'd have to be something.
I've actually been given a bad name by a few Tai Chi people through the years for me just simply having the opinions I do about Tai Chi. And we do see heaps of clips repeatedly come up on YouTube where people walk into a ring, stand in some classical posture that has got no real serious real-world fighting application.
Yeah.
And then they expect to fight someone who's been training seriously in a serious combative martial art. So there are people with delusions of grandeur that they can do that.
But even
right.
after
So if you were to fight a wild dog, you wouldn't stand there in your own martial art pose.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. That's what's very popular on YouTube at the moment.
And you do see a lot of that. You even see, all sorts of different disciplines. They get in and they go into their little Wing Chun stance or their little pretty Tai Chi stance, and then they've got these MMA boxers who just go, "Oh, you're so," then they just hammer them.
Yeah.
But after this, because I think the one that I saw, the guy that believed in the no contact, that he could actually win that match without making any contact. Like, even after that was stopped by the referee, he was still under the illusion or delusion that if he was allowed to keep going, he would have actually won.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Yeah.
Right.
So
it's probably somewhat religious at that point. If you're the head of the school and you've been training in something for 20 years, I think I know the one. It's quite famous. It's that guy, the UFC. It's a Chinese thing, and where a Chinese UFC guy wanted to actually disprove.
This is the recent one, wasn't it?
Yes, and the government was like, no, you're not going to just put a shit on everything Chinese here. What you're doing is trying to break up Chinese martial arts with one video.
Yeah.
It's choc mint.
Is it choc mint? Thank you, Social Sweet Seeds, for these muffins, you beauty.
But I also wondered about that. I thought that was a great, having learned about some things that Chinese governments have done over the years to different cultural aspects, I actually wonder if the propaganda for that whole stunt was simply the Chinese UFC saying, we have stepped away from traditional martial arts.
Right.
Because there is that thing that if you do a Chinese martial art like Tai Chi or something, it is not going to compete in the ring. And the way most people train it, I completely agree with that. So I wonder a little bit if that was actually the Chinese UFC basically saying to the world,
we're ready.
We don't.
What a great tactic.
We don't do mystical Chinese martial arts anymore.
Well,
we're ready to fight.
Yeah, it worked on me.
Yeah, exactly.
It showed me that there's a legit fighter, whoever he is. It just went, oh yeah, no, there are Western style fighters in China. Look at that guy.
Yeah, definitely.
It definitely worked on me. You're probably right, 100%.
Yeah.
Because you look at the other guy he was fighting, it was like the full white beard, like straight out of
and then they just created a media storm, so it carried on for a few weeks, and
Oh, dude, you've solved that. Solved it. But isn't it a great? Because I didn't know anything about Taiji, right? And everything you're into. That's what I mean. I was like, wow. Everyone knows someone who does Taekwondo or something in this city, and here you are. I'm going, what the? So I started looking up some things, and straight away, I was led to UFC fighter fights this, which is for any bloke.
Yep.
You just want to see that. You just want to see some martial art versus that martial art and what happens. Isn't that cool UFC's in this kind of, I love it to bits, by the way, but the original UFC where they actually had no idea like who is going to win here. They're going to put this versus that and this versus that, and one guy's wearing a gi, the other guy's in some boxing gear, and now it's like everyone trains MMA. Like everyone's generally got a black belt in one of the things.
And I kind of like it because the whole idea of that was to find out what works. There's all these martial arts, what works. So in that way, I kind of like it. But again, it's combative. This isn't self-defense. I've seen clips online showing MMA guys who are professional getting cleaned up in certain self-defense situations because they expected the rules of the game.
Yeah.
And it just didn't happen.
Yeah.
You know, people with sticks of wood and whatnot. And if they're not
Sure.
ready for that and they don't know how to respond, combative skills will only go so far. But that's just, you know, that's not to say they can't fight.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, a lot of people say, "Oh, what would you do against someone who did UFC?" I'm like, the day Conor McGregor comes walking down the street wanting to fight, I'm just going to run. Like, you know? Come on, seriously.
And in their defense, they probably will too, because
Yeah.
anyone who does that stuff, like we've said a million times on this show, like anyone who trains in something, they know the consequence of,
Yeah.
Exactly.
and they're not going to
Exactly.
fight. They're going to like, dude, really? Do you want to? Can't we just cuddle?
Yeah.
Can't we just sort it out?
So what's the most appealing aspect of what you do? Like, is it that like being mindful and being able to?
Yeah, I think the Taiji has more lifestyle benefits.
Yeah.
In that, also with the loosening and talking about the slow form and doing the qigong, and
You sure don't want any cupcake? It's choc mint.
yeah, I actually don't do choc mint very well.
Oh, don't you?
And then I'm trying to get my words out as it is. I'll be spitting stuff everywhere. Where was I going with that?
Sorry. So what's the most appealing thing about what you do?
Oh, jeepers, all of it. What I like the most, though, is I find the more I do it, the more I'm literally, and this might sound a bit strange, but I'm infusing the concepts of Chinese medicine into my body.
Oh, that's another thing I was going to ask you.
Yep.
Well, I mean, how did you get into it in the first place?
Do you want me to tell me my story?
Yeah.
All right. I'll tell you my story. All right, so I basically earned my pocket money as a young fella massaging my father, who was a marathon runner.
Oh, okay.
And so I earned my money picking knots out of his glutes and hamstrings. And then
Yeah.
my sister was a martial artist, and she got in the act, and so I'd massage her.
What did she do?
She was like some sort of street fighting karate kind of setup back in the late 80s.
Karate Kid kind of
Karate
thing.
Kid, yeah. And she was really tough, actually. She used to
Was
scare me a
she?
bit as a kid. Yeah, my big sister. Ooh, scary. And anyway, so that's how I earned my pocket money. Then I literally turned 18. I moved to the Gold Coast to do architectural drafting.
Where are you from originally?
Country Victoria.
Well, how
Where?
country?
Shepparton.
Gippsland.
Oh.
Traralgon.
What's the nearest big
Sale?
town? Sale? Is that
Sale?
near Hay? No.
No. Bendigo?
Where's the nearest speedway?
Sorry, Bairnsdale? Inverloch?
Where the hell? What?
About 2 hours.
What are you talking about?
2 hours southeast of Melbourne. Exactly.
Southeast. Oh, no, I don't know
Let's
southeast.
just call it
Yeah.
Country Victoria.
Yeah, Country
So
Victoria.
is Dandenong's above that?
Dandenong's closer to
Southeast. What
city.
about Nyora?
Don't
Yeah.
even know it.
Frankston. That's kind
That's
of
closer
south.
to Melbourne.
Yeah, the
City
other
too.
side of the peninsula, I think, from where I am.
Southeast. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Because Dandenong's on one side and Frankston's
Okay,
on
yeah,
the
definitely
other
don't know
side of
anything
Melbourne.
about where that...
No, that's all right. That's all right.
Gippsland.
Okay, and what
Anyway.
year? Sorry, because I...
So I left. I moved up here to do drafting, architectural drafting, and I basically dropped out of that and went to work at SeaWorld.
I did too!
I think I read that. Where did you work?
Rides, like a...
Yeah, I was on the attractions as well.
What
There
year?
you
What
go.
year?
I was 2001.
I was already gone. I would have left about
Really?
99.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Wasn't it a great place?
It wasn't too bad.
Good time.
Anyway, actually, I think you came in after us. Well, I think we stuffed it up for the later crew. Yeah, we got into too much trouble and caused
Yeah?
too much mischief, and they started to...
Well, you guys,
Ahoy there,
you
mateys.
know
Welcome to
what?
SeaWorld's exciting 3D adventure Pirates, starring Leslie Nielsen and proudly sponsored by Paul's. Today's journey will last...
I used to go to SeaWorld heaps around that time. Did I? Wait. Oh, maybe not. No, because I started tour guiding in 87.
Oh, you love semen. Sorry.
Here we go. All right, so you went to SeaWorld.
Okay. And I actually...
I can't help it. I'm a dad. I've got dad jokes coming out of me forever.
I'm sure on the back of the birth certificate there's actually a clause to say that you're allowed to tell dad jokes.
Hell yeah.
Anyway, so...
I never saw that clause. I would have taken... Anyway, no, I like your dad jokes. I like your jokes.
Oh, I got more. Buckle in tight.
You've
Go.
got that recorded on. All right, so came to work at SeaWorld, and I actually ran into a Welsh guy who'd actually come to Australia to train with this Australian Tai Chi master, which, you know, an Aussie fella.